So I went home, stayed up all night, went to my doctor the next day, and she said, you're lucky to be alive. You really are lucky to be alive. That's where the healing journey and being my own health advocate began, and did a lot of meditating, prayed a great deal, like, hey, God, when is this going to be over? Do we have a timeline for this? It really makes you take that step back. And it's had more of a positive impact on my life than a negative impact, if that makes sense.
I am Lisa Roers, former executive coach turned podcaster and digital course creator. Just a few years ago, my typically unwavering optimism was put to the test when my autoimmune system went sideways and handcuffed my dreams to positively impact the world. Fast forward, though, through years of failed experiments, dozens of doctors, and countless hours of research, and I am now a healthy, thriving CEO of a business that is positively impacting the world by empowering people to exchange fear for fortitude and dis-ease for durability. I created the Sunshine Cafe podcast to give you strategies to be your best self-advocate so you can focus on the things which light you up. If you're looking for hope and encouragement to live a life you love, then you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hey there, and welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. I'm Lisa Roers, your host, and I think today's episode is really going to resonate with you, maybe in a few ways. We're talking today about tinnitus. If you have it, you are among some 750 million people worldwide, or 27 million people in the US, who know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't have tinnitus, you may not even know what it is or how to pronounce it correctly. Tinnitus is a ringing or a buzzing, maybe even like a whooshing or a hissing sound in your ears. The sounds might be intermittent, they might be constant, they could vary in volume and come and go. But tinnitus is the term that we use to describe any sound that a person hears that is not present in their external environment. Many of us have some mild tinnitus. If you've ever found yourself in a really quiet room, studying in the library perhaps, or relaxing in a quiet bath, you might hear a faint buzzing or a subtle tone ringing in your ears. You'll hear it especially clear if you just left a loud venue or a concert or someplace where the music and sound is a little too high. The sound isn't really there, but you think you hear something, and you might think everybody experiences that same sensation. But for those who have had nerve damage from inflammation, an accident, maybe a concussion, or some other nerve-damaging event, this faint kind of buzzing or tone takes on a completely and annoying life of its own, and it can really become maddening, almost torturous. This always present ringing that can keep a person from focusing on their work or sleeping at night or successfully completing a task, or maybe just sitting across the table from a loved one and enjoying a conversation. So what does tinnitus sound like? Well, here's a couple examples of what tinnitus might sound like for those who suffer from this condition. Let's take a listen. Oh, pretty horrible, right? Like most things, there's good news and bad news about tinnitus. The bad news is there isn't really yet a pill or any pharmaceutical that currently helps this condition, at least not yet. But the good news is that being a good self-advocate for your own health, taking on lots of rest, following a nutrition-rich diet, eating anti-inflammatory foods and supplements, and adding some sound therapy, people who suffer from this surprisingly common condition can not only lessen their symptoms, but in some cases can eliminate them altogether. So let me introduce to you our guest today. Sandy Nizzi has 20 plus years of working in the natural products industry and never really realized just how helpful that experience would be until a completely freak accident at a sporting arena forever changed the trajectory of her life. Although she had a successful career in sales and enjoyed climbing that career ladder, her true passion had always been mentoring and guiding people in living a healthy and active lifestyle. So now Sandy incorporates those same modalities that she loves coaching on into her own healing, while she also gets to work with others who have a similar passion for being their own self-advocate for health, healing, and complete wellness. Sandy's story will surprise you, inspire you, and give you some actionable tips for how you can improve your tinnitus and your overall health starting today. So let's dive in. Welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. And Sandy, I'm so excited to have you with us today. Thank you for being on the show.
I'm excited to be here, Lisa. I think what you're doing is fantastic and much needed. So I'm excited to be a part of your journey.
Awesome. Thank you very much. You and I got a chance to meet through a course, actually, we did online. And you have a very interesting story. Probably nobody listening to this podcast has experienced anything close to what you have. It is a unique story. Let's just dive in there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of the crazy journey that got you to your health encounter that started your health journey and even just what derailed your life to get you there?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it definitely was a crazy story. It was a crazy journey, but
Yeah.
I feel everything happens for a reason. And I felt that even though the outcome has left me with a health issue, but the outcome actually was surprisingly great because it made me reflect on my own health and also made me realize that I need to be my own advocate for my health and no one else will be that person except for me. So it started back in May of 2015. And I won't tell you the name of the venue, but it was a sporting event. It was in the summer, and I'm here in Denver, Colorado. So I was at a sporting event, and uh, we went to the event and we were seated below the handicap section. So there was a handicap section above us. And the individual above us decided to take off the leg braces on their wheelchair and he handed them to his father.
Oh, no.
His father was leaning over the railing and they dropped.
Oh, my goodness.
I know. And unfortunately, I was seated below that and they fell on my head. So think about the
My.
impact of the steel, right? So probably 5, 10 pounds.
Yeah, so this is that whole segment that comes down from the seat of the wheelchair that your feet typically would sit on,
Mm-hmm.
right? That huge, heavy metal piece.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Dropped, fell on my head. It was just one that fell on my head, but I didn't need two, right?
No.
I just needed one.
Yeah.
And, but luckily though, what had happened is that my mom was seated in my seat. And for whatever reason, I asked her to change seats.
Oh, wow.
So I'm actually thankful that it happened to me and not my mom, because obviously my mom is older than me. And I feel thankful that it happened to me, that I was actually able to take that hit being much younger.
Yes, right.
So it knocked me out. You know what everyone says. I saw stars. I was circling. My head was spinning. I was out cold for, I don't know, maybe a few seconds. And I woke up to the the sporting venue's EMT essentially was around me and checking on me. They wanted to have me go into their emergency room. They are locally on site, but I chose not to do that. So I went home, although I felt completely off, stayed up all night,
Wow.
went to my doctor the next day, and she said, you're lucky to be alive. You really are lucky to be alive. And she said, you had a severe concussion. And the concussion, there's really not much that they can do for you, right?
Yes.
It's not like we're going to give you a pill and you're going to go home and
Right.
it's going to be fine.
Yeah. It just takes your body time to heal it, but it's a protocol for sure to follow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure. So I went home, and from that day, from it happening to the next 3 months, I couldn't drive, couldn't really watch TV, couldn't focus on anything.
Wow.
couldn't read. I was out of work for 3 months.
3 months. Did you
Mhm.
ever have a chance to did the gentleman who dropped the the piece ever acknowledge, or was he aware of even what happened?
Yes, they came down. The father walked down and was standing by me, and he was crying because his
Okay.
son is paralyzed from the waist down.
Oh my gosh.
And there's uh, I'm not gonna blame him,
No.
right? I mean, he's already had his bad fortune in life. And so I just said, don't worry about it,
Yeah.
right? We're we're leaving here, we're on our way. We'll take care of it. It'll get taken care of. So,
Mhm.
but he did come down and he was crying and he felt so horrible about that situation and he apologized. But at that point, I just,
Right.
I,
I mean, it's kinda nice to know at least that he was had remorse over it, but was just curious if he had any knowledge that it even happened, so
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, he was definitely feeling very upset about the situation, but knowing that it was out of his control, right?
exactly.
There's nothing that you can do. So,
Out of work for 3 months then afterwards, wow. And
yeah,
trying to just let your body and your brain heal.
I really just took it upon myself to research concussions and everything that I could do to heal my body. And that is basically the thing that you don't want to do, which is taking a break from life and taking a step back. So, really, you need to allow your body to rest at that point, which I know a lot of us today aren't really good at that.
Right. Nobody is to stop
Yeah.
and not do things, it doesn't quite feel right.
Right, right. So that was really the challenge, but it was also a lesson. It was also that's where the healing journey and being my own health advocate began because I realized that yes, this is important. This is an important lesson for me to learn not only today, but also moving forward into my future.
Yeah.
It's really important to take that step back and allow your body to rest. So that's what I did for 3 months and did a lot of yoga at home just to regain my balance because
Mhm.
my balance was completely off, and did a lot of meditating, prayed a great deal, like,
Mhm.
"Hey, God, when is this gonna be over? Do we
Right.
have a timeline for this?"
Yeah. That's the
Uh,
hardest thing about that kind of an injury is, you just don't know how long it's gonna last. Like, when is that healing window gonna be over where you start feeling a little more normal?
right, right, exactly. Spent a lot of time at Whole Foods and natural grocers, just learning about various supplements that my body might need that's depleted during that time,
Mhm.
making sure that I'm hydrated more so than I probably had been in the past,
Mhm.
and giving my body the nutrients, eating a lot of plants,
Mhm.
plant-based, and eating clean food. So that was my protocol for 3 months, juicing. I started juicing during that time.
Mm. And were you learning to do these different things from just the research you were doing, or what guided you to that path?
The research I was doing, again, spending a lot of time at Whole Foods and natural grocers and tapping into their knowledge bank, talking to the sales associates there and learning from them because they have people coming in, vendors, brands coming in every
Mhm.
day, teaching them about how to take care of your body, nutrients to put into your body. So really just learning, being a sponge and learning from them,
Mhm.
essentially what was the best protocol for me.
Mhm.
That, unfortunately, at the end of that 3 months led into a very serious sinus infection.
Oh, no.
At the end of that 3 months when I was healing, but at the end of that 3 months, I had a very serious sinus infection. I think it was just also directly from the impact that happened when the leg brace hit my head,
Yes.
and had a serious sinus infection, which led to tinnitus in my left ear.
Okay. Wow.
So this is still going. So when the tinnitus
Yeah.
happened, And I went to my doctor. She asked me, well, do you think it was from the concussion or do you think it's from the antibiotics that you took from the sinus infection? I said, you know what? I think it all started from the concussion. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be having this conversation, right?
Right. Interesting that she asked you that question, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Right.
it does just show that our doctors aren't completely infallible and omniscient. They don't know everything about us, that we have to really be that advocate to bring all the pieces to the table.
Right. 100%. You're accurate. And so again, having the tinnitus come on, and it was a very strong ringing sound in my left ear for about a month,
Okay. Constant.
constant.
Okay. Okay. So pause for a second. You had 3 months of healing just to get your concussion kind of rested and under control. And you were not able to work during that time, right? So you
No,
had to kind of go on an extended disability or something from work so you could do that. And then right about the time you feel like you're maybe starting to get normal, you get the sinus infection, and now you have tinnitus on top of it, which is talk about an annoying constant. It's not like something you can just ignore and move on with your life. That is a very disruptive ailment.
it truly is. And I had just started going back to work part-time when
Mm.
that came on, and it was maddening. And it's actually interesting because when I tell my story about this whole journey, and then at the end, the tinnitus story, people tell me if I'm talking to someone, they'll say, typically I would say like 1 out of 3 people, oh, I have tinnitus.
Yeah.
It's very common.
And we don't talk about it hardly ever, as far
No,
as the fact that people are walking around with this annoying kind of thing going on in their ears. And that's probably distracting from focusing in on whatever task it is they're trying to do. We don't talk about what it is and how people are healing from it. So let's assume some of our listeners don't necessarily know much about it. Can you help educate them a little?
well, with tinnitus, it's actually caused by nerve damage. So it's nerve damage essentially.
All
So
right.
again, when I'm thinking about the concussion and then the sinus infection, it could be caused by either one.
Yeah.
So essentially, in a nutshell, it's nerve damage.
Got it.
And so when that started happening, when the tinnitus happened, it came on, and that was for a good solid month. Again, I had to educate myself on how can I lessen the sound because it was maddening.
Mm.
It was to the point where I couldn't even hear myself think. It was so loud. And you couldn't, I couldn't focus on anything else. I couldn't focus on a conversation. I couldn't, it's as if you're in a dark room and the door's closed and there are no windows and
Yeah.
the door's locked.
It's kind of like a individual form of torture.
Mm-hmm. It really, really is.
Yeah. Not like solitary confinement, but solitary confinement with this sound that just won't stop.
That's right.
Oh my goodness.
And I still have it today, but it's not as intense as it was. So essentially, that month when it completely hijacked my life, again, I was back to the research mode of, okay, let's just focus on lessening the sound. Let's not focus on eliminating it completely, but how can I decrease the sound of the tinnitus? And did some exploration on that. And again, back to my contacts at Whole Foods and natural grocers and just learning about supplements. So there is a website that I did use. It's the Tinnitus Hub. And I don't know if it's tinnitushub.org. I think it's Tinnitus Hub, HUB.org. And there's some really great resources on there for tinnitus, but that was another resource that I used that I tapped into, learning about different supplements like vitamin D and calcium can help decrease the sound of the tinnitus. Just hydrating your body, drinking a lot of water. There's also some sound therapy that if you go on YouTube that I tapped into as well. And I just had my headphones connected to my laptop and listened to that that sound therapy for about 10 minutes. And that
Every
helps you.
day?
Yeah, I did that every day. And that just gives you a little bit of relief for a few hours, which is fantastic because when I was going back to work for a few hours part time, that helped give me that runway, right? That gave me that time to really focus on what I needed to focus on. So just repeating those steps on a daily basis has
Mhm.
given me some relief. Now, again, I don't know if my brain has now acclimated to the sound. So
Mm,
that maybe that's why it doesn't seem as loud. Because that's also a part of it as well, is that initially when that tinnitus appears and comes on, your brain goes, wait, what,
that's
what's
new.
happening?
Right.
Yeah, that's a new sound. What is that?
Right.
And at this point, I don't know if it's my own therapy plan that I created that has decreased that sound, or if it's just my brain is acclimated, or maybe it's a combination of both.
I'm sure it's both. Well, and you, like you said, it's a nerve damage thing. So as you feed yourself well with the right fuel and the right tools to heal, and nerves heal really slow. It's probably one of the things in our bodies that heals the slowest. So all of those tools help our body repair that nerve damage on top of the fact that you're doing the sound therapy, which is helping your brain realize that this sound is not a it's not something that's gonna kill me. This, the fight or
Hmm.
flight thing. I'm safe. I'm gonna be okay. And that
Right?
helps your brain kinda dismiss some of that, but you're still experiencing some of that too.
Hmm. I am on a daily basis. And I will share with everyone that I was in a pretty good place for a few years where the noise had decreased. Now, for me, it's different for everyone. For me, the sound, it's a it's a buzz. It's a buzzing sound. It's like there's a fly trapped in my ear that
Oh
can't get
my
out.
okay, so not tonal as much as a rattle almost, like that
Mhm.
wow, okay.
So today is a good day. No, it's not as loud today, but I will share with you when I did get the vaccine in was it 2021? About a week after I got the vaccine, my tinnitus increased. It just hit the roof. It was
Wow.
so loud.
Same kind of sound or same kind of effect, but just ramped up in volume.
Hmm.
Okay.
Right. So for me, the connection there was also inflammation.
Mm. That makes sense from all of the science that's coming out now is that
Hmm.
the vaccine has and did, and it continues to cause a lot of inflammation, right?
So it was inflammation. And then it also makes sense too that when I do get a cold or a sinus infection, it does increase in volume. So immediately after I got the vaccine and that happened and the volume increased, I immediately started taking my turmeric.
Mhm.
Anything that was anti-inflammatory that I could put into my body, I did
Great.
immediately. And arnica, right? I started taking arnica internally. I did some hyaluronic acid as well. So about a few days after that, the volume started to slowly decrease again.
Okay.
So there is something to that.
Mhm.
But now I'm in a good steady rhythm where it's still there, but the volume, it's not as loud. So that is a good takeaway for people who are also experiencing the tinnitus to really look into the inflammation side of your body and
Mhm.
treat that. Um, and it's something that we all need to do anyway, right?
Mhm.
It's something that now I've started to do on a daily basis is really address inflammation in the body because a lot of times pain, arthritis, it's all connected to inflammation.
Yeah, more and more science is coming out about that. The inflammations is the foundational element of a lot of these diseases that are surfacing, autoimmune related or otherwise even.
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly. Which brings me to today, which I'm in a really good place today. So, but going back to the start of our conversation, when we were talking about my journey, I really learned to take care of my own health, to be my own health advocate, and also really start that journey from back in 2015 to really learn how to address these issues myself before just popping a pill or consulting with my doctor. I really start with myself first.
Okay, interesting. That's a start with yourself first, not to completely discount the doctor, but to start with yourself first.
Right.
I'm curious what kind of advice, if any, you were getting from your doctors, both on the concussion protocol as well as the tinnitus and other things that you were experiencing. What kind of advice were they giving you?
Nothing really. I mean, it was rest. I shouldn't say nothing. I mean, it was rest
Hmm.
and keep yourself hydrated,
Okay,
rest, don't drive. And I'm talking about during the concussion, height of the concussion, don't drive,
sure.
don't watch television, don't be on your phone for an extended amount of time.
Okay.
Really
Good.
just rest your mind. That's what your brain is looking for, rest.
Just rest so it can divert those resources that it would be using to watch something or read something or drive, divert those resources to just healing your brain.
Hmm.
On the tinnitus, are there drugs that are out there that are supposed to help with the sound and the nerve damage related to that?
Unfortunately, there is no cure. There's nothing out there on the market right now. I know that if you go onto the website that I shared, the Tinnitus Hub, there's so many great resources on that website. And that definitely keeps everyone up to date as far as where we're at with different medical trials with tinnitus. But there's no cure as of today. So again, it's just a matter of taking care of it yourself and being able to use yourself as a resource.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that you said it that way. There's so many things out there right now that they're saying, "Oh, there's no cure." But I like the big fat yet on the backside because
Yes.
there everything had one point had no cure, and
Hmm.
now we've got a cure or a treatment for fevers, and we've got a cure and a treatment for other things. So I love that it's we just don't have one yet, and I love that you are looking at lots of different modalities, including sound therapy as well as reducing the inflammation, yoga to help your mindset be in a good, peaceful, restful place. So what other kinds of things are you using now? Because this has really changed the trajectory of your life and
Hmm.
probably the focus of your life. So what kinds of modalities first are you using to keep yourself healthy and strong?
So the sound therapy for sure. And I encourage people to go on YouTube. And if you just in the search bar, you just search for tinnitus, a lot of great resources will show up on YouTube as well.
Mhm.
Exactly how you can handle it.
Mhm.
Again, sound therapy is on YouTube. So that's a great resource. The other thing that I would share is when I'm going to concerts or I know I'm going to be in a loud venue, I have a little anxiety because I don't want to damage my hearing any further. So invest in some really great earplugs. And I actually advise that for anyone if you don't have tinnitus, right? Just as we get older, we're not doing ourselves any favors. So I would just invest in some really great earplugs. So when I go to concerts, I put those in and I can still hear, but it definitely helps to protect my hearing. I have hearing loss in my left ear now because of all this. So
Mm.
I want to be able to protect my hearing even further.
Mhm.
And again, just circling back to having a great diet, making sure that I'm getting all my nutrition. I juice a lot now.
Mhm.
I didn't do that before this.
So
So
you're nourishing your body through those juices is giving your body the tools it needs in order to heal.
right. Not relying on supplements. So I'm not a huge supplement person, but when needed, I will take a vitamin D or a zinc. But juicing and again, just meditating twice a day. I practice for 20 minutes twice a day. Just being able to quiet my mind is really important considering the hustle and bustle of our lives today.
Mhm. So true.
That's really my protocol for how I keep my body anxiety free and how I manage my tinnitus.
Mhm. Well, that's fantastic. Those are really great tips for our listeners to consider as well, because there are like you had said, a lot more people dealing with that than we realize. And I just don't hear it talked about as like when you and I first met, it was I was just kind of surprised because we just don't typically hear about it. On your comment about protecting our hearing, I think that is so, so valuable. We had a gentleman working on our deck once, and I walked out there and all the balusters were shaking. And I said, "Hey, can we fix the balusters that are all shaking?" He's like, "I don't hear what do you say?" He didn't even hear them. He could not even hear all the balusters shaking. Now he's been in construction for some time, but it just
Mm,
makes me aware of the fact that we really have to protect our hearing. Um,
mhm.
I have a iPhone. Lots of people have smartphones these days, and there are apps that you can download that will give you the decibels in any room that you are in. And anything over 95, 96 is starting to get really damaging. Do a little research and find what those numbers are. Quite honestly, I kind of hesitate to share this, but our church, our church services have decibels that go over 100.
Oh, wow.
I know. We never go to church without our earplugs. And it's not for a long time. They just kind of spike up over 100 and then they hover back around 95. But 10 minutes at that can really affect your hearing. So our whole family goes to church with earplugs so we can protect our ears. The service is so good and the message is so good, but the music
Yes,
is also so loud.
yes,
So
yes,
you wouldn't expect that you're gonna get that at church, but that's why I carry that decibel meter with me always, and if I ever am curious, just a little bit wondering if I'm in a place that might be affecting my hearing, I just check it, and I have those earplugs with me, and I can always put them in. And actually, the Apple AirPods, the Air Pros are really good about being able to plug a lot of that sound, but not all of it. You can do a little bit of that ambient noise cancel, and it really helps a lot to reduce the sound that's coming in. So, lots of different options out there to protect our hearing, but it's one thing that we often overlook.
we really do. We protect our eyes, right? We
Mhm.
do a great job of doing that. But the ears often, your hearing often gets overlooked.
Mhm.
And I'm so happy to hear that you are a proponent of earplugs because
Yes.
whenever I pull mine out, my friends look at me with this, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you putting in your ears? Listen, you're going to regret it. Okay.
Right.
So everyone listening today, get yourself some earplugs.
Yes. Yes, I will applaud that. Get your earplugs and be proud. Wear them proudly because you're gonna be the one that's 60, 70, 80, 90, and isn't having to either wear a hearing aid or not be able to hear the beautiful sounds around you. So, yeah, definitely worth saving.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
So you had this huge life trajectory change. You've had this now, all of those different modalities that you're now using to keep yourself as healthy and strong as you can be. How has this affected the future and what you're going to do in your future?
hmm it has created a level of anxiety that I've had
Mm,
to learn how to navigate. Just
sure.
now, I'm fearful. Since that time in 2015, I can be fearful of going into places. So I've
Hmm.
had to learn how to navigate that. Meditation has helped me with that. Yoga has helped me with that
Good.
to downgrade my level of anxiety when I go into a place. But um, really, I feel that it hasn't had a negative impact other than the anxiety, but it's had more of a positive impact on me as far as one, how I'm taking care of my health. And I would say two, just being more aware of my life and also what I'm doing in my life and in my surroundings when I like going out somewhere, just learning to really take advantage of that moment and where I'm at. So it's had more of a positive impact on my life and how I view things and how I handle things and not to take my life for granted, quite
Mhm.
honestly, because when that tinnitus spiked for that good month, it was very scary, and I really wasn't quite sure where I was gonna go from there,
Well, you didn't
not
know how long
knowing.
it was going to last either, right? It could
Right,
have been a month or it could have been 3 years.
right, right, and when you read the stories, when you go to Tinnitus Hub, you read the stories of people who have it much worse than I do,
Mm,
and, my heart goes out to them. It really does, and I
yeah.
pray for them. It really makes you take that step back and it's had more of a positive impact on my life than a negative impact, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. And what a great frame of mind to have on it, to take all the positive you can from it and to dismiss the negative that one could dwell on. Um,
Hmm.
the anxiety that you have when you go into buildings, is that related to fear of having something fall on you again? Or is it the sound of things?
It's actually both. So it's the fear of something hitting me or an accident happening,
Mhm.
even just getting in a car too.
Yeah,
Just
right.
that fear of an accident and that happening again.
Yes, right.
Or I do become overwhelmed with sound at times.
I
So
bet.
if I go into a very loud venue or if I'm in a room and people are talking and it's loud and the acoustics are not good in that room,
Mhm.
it impacts me. And that's usually when I put in my earplugs and
Mhm.
it calms everything down.
Nice, nice. Well, I think that's a really good reminder for us all to be mindful of the fact that number one, there's probably people around us that are being affected by the sound in the rooms that we're in. And so oftentimes I think, oh, look at that person. They got their headphones on. They just want to, you know, shut out the world and they're so disconnected. Well, maybe they're dealing with tinnitus. Maybe they're dealing with that and they need to find some peace for their own mindset. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I think, just that process that we all have to go through of letting go of the fear. Everything we do in life is a potential source of an accident, and you can't live in that space of fear. It's a really good thing they don't cover car accidents the way they cover other things on the news because nobody would ever get into their car. So it's like we have to learn to just let go of those things, not to
Yes.
be not careful, but to understand that I have only control over so much and I have to just release that and breathe through it and live my life.
Hmm. Very well said. And that's exactly what I do. I get in my car every day and I'm going out into the world every day.
Mhm.
And so I need to just manage those expectations that I have or what I'm thinking might could have. I need to manage that. And that's really through meditation and breathing. And I take that with me into the car too.
Good, good. And you know,
If I get overwhelmed, I just pull over.
that's a really good recommendation to just bring that peaceful space into your car as well. Yeah. And to pull
Yeah.
over when you're feeling
Yeah. Yeah.
overwhelmed.
And
Yeah.
pull over too.
Yeah. There's a reason there's shoulders exist, man. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're going out into the world in all kinds of ways. You have a podcast that people can find you on. You want to share just a little bit about what your podcast is? And I will also make sure that we get those links in the show notes here so people can find
Yeah.
the resources recommended. But tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. My podcast is called Be Well Aligned, and I interview people who have transitioned from traditional careers into a health and wellness career.
Mm,
And so I interview them and we talk about their journey along the way. So it's really been a lot of fun. And yeah, so give it a listen.
wonderful. I bet you're meeting all kinds of crazy people and good, awesome
Yeah.
people who are focusing on health out there.
Yeah. It's been a really great time. I've enjoyed it. And
Good.
I've enjoyed our time together.
Likewise, Sandy, thank you so much for being a guest on the program today. And I'll keep you in thoughts and prayers as you continue to fight through this healing journey. And I just really appreciate your joy, your light, and your beauty and sharing your time with us today.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate it.
Thank you too. Have a great week.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.
What a great conversation. I hope you found something in today's episode that was helpful and maybe even actionable that you can use to help reduce your tinnitus symptoms. I have 6 takeaways for you today. Number 1, don't overstress it. Everything happens for a reason, and remember that even though you may have a health issue out of whatever circumstance you're currently dealing with, surprisingly, the outcome may be overall quite positive because, like Sandy, you might find yourself reflecting on and prioritizing your own health in a way you never did before and choosing to be your own health advocate. No one else is going to be that person for you except you. Number 2, do your research. There is so much information available to us these days, no matter what your condition or diagnosis or array of symptoms are. So do some research and learn everything you can about what you can give your body to heal. Number 3, rest. Something we are all not very good at. But sometimes the most important thing to give our bodies in order to heal is simply rest. Take a break from life, step back, and let your body rest. Number 4, look for resources. They're all around you. Whole Foods, co-ops, and natural grocers have people who are trained in supplements and foods that will help you heal. So be courageous. Just walk up to them and say, hey, I'm just starting this healing journey. I could really use some help on what supplements might help me heal through whatever ailments you're having. Let them know. I'm sure they will be more than happy to share the amazing knowledge that they've acquired. And check out YouTube for sound therapy and tinnitushub.com for more information about tinnitus or to learn how to better live with the symptoms or ease the symptoms that you might have from this condition. Number 5, nourish your body with anti-inflammatory and nutrient-dense foods. Your body can't heal without the right tools. So give your body the nutrients that it needs. Eat a lot of plants, plant-based foods, grass-fed meats, and consider juicing. Adding turmeric and resveratrol and berries also, which have a lot of antioxidants, can help calm inflammation. There's so much information on the internet about this. All you need to do is do a quick search and you'll find a list of things that you can use for eating an anti-inflammatory diet. Number 6, invest in some really great earplugs and use them everywhere you go. Whether you have tinnitus or not, this will help you. Get a Decibel app on your phone. There's many of them that are free. And carry those earplugs with you wherever you go. Start paying attention to how loud things are around you. You'll be surprised to find out that places like churches, concerts, loud traffic noises or construction areas, even certain spaces in the airports or at a sporting event, all of those places may have noise that is damaging your hearing. And you won't even know it until you're 70 years old and can't hear anything anymore. Keep in mind that noises louder than 70, just 70 decibels, if sustained for a long period of time, can permanently damage your hearing. So get those earplugs and use them proudly, and you will be happy to be hearing things well past your 80s and 90s. Thank you for listening today. Tinnitus is a condition that a lot of people deal with, and we don't even know it. So if you would, please share this episode and help share awareness about tinnitus and the ways that people can help lessen those really annoying and maddening sounds. Also, if you enjoyed this episode and found it valuable, write a quick review below here so people can find this episode afterwards as well. Let's help as many people as we can and encourage them with the options to lessen or eliminate their tinnitus symptoms. Thank you for listening today. Have a great week and God bless.